above the tree line, I have with me Thorsten Meudt, who is the newly appointed CEO of Compart. Thorsten, thank you for joining us today. AI is everywhere. It's impacting everything, dominates the news. It dominates social media. It's literally the topic that everyone is talking about. And every industry is looking to see how is artificial intelligence going to impact our core business? How is it going to impact our product suite? How is it going to impact our business operations? But of course, we're talking about customer communications more broadly. And so where do you see artificial intelligence playing a role in the customer communications industry as it exists today?
So as it sits today, I would say there are some quite obvious use cases, right? So in the end, in our industry, we are dealing with a lot of text, a lot of content resources, right? So naturally, the most obvious use cases are in the area of translation, for instance, right? Where you had to spend significant manual work on getting your text blocks translated manually, or you had to send it back and forth with the translation agency and so on. You can rely on AI to get that done for you today, right? Another closely related use case is to check and optimize your tonality, right? Just, to make sure that you comply with your corporate kind of style guide in that sense, that you don't use any inappropriate phrases and so on and so forth, right? So quite obvious. Maybe a bit more specific topic that I see not only Compart active in is the area of accessibility, right? So there is a huge demand in the market right now due to regulatory requirements in Europe, but I guess also in the US, where people just have these, large inventories of existing documents, typically PDF, sitting in their archive that is not accessible, that's not compliant with PDF UA. And obviously you can use AI technology in order to auto tag these documents and do that basically on the fly or based on templates. So those are, I would say, the kind of commonplace use cases that are being used by customers today at scale.
Now, you mentioned templates, and of course that has been and still is a big part of the customer communications composition process. Where is AI playing in that space in terms of template either generation or template conversion?
2 years. We are just right now preparing for our next Comparting or annual customer event. And about, 2 years ago at our previous Comparting, we showcased for the first time template generation by prompt. So actually, after ChatGPT was launched a while ago, I started thinking, let's try to experiment a little bit with that kind of technology, assuming that, as I said before, Compart is very much dedicated to open standards. So our template format is essentially HTML with a little bit of spice added to it for print purposes. And I said ChatGPT and all these models, they should be fairly familiar with HTML, CSS, and all these standard practices, right? But let's see if we can tune and tweak it a little bit so that it's able to create a workable template for DocBridge Communication Suite just using prompts, right? And we showed that as an early prototype at Comparting 2024. And that was kind of the starting point for us. And we later started to integrate that completely into our product. So we introduced AI Assistant, which is a feature available for productive use for almost a year now. And this gives you the possibility to create new templates using natural language, right? So you could just go ahead and say, please create a skeleton for a telephone bill, for instance, and it would create a layout, it would create the data structure, the style, and so on. And then you could kind of iterate, right, and make it comply with your layout guidelines, and basically with the concept that you had in mind, right? That's one use case that we have implemented, and I think I can't say for sure we are unique, but I'm pretty sure that there aren't too many vendors in the market today that can provide that functionality. The other scenario that we have implemented in the product is that we can migrate templates. Basically, what this means is you take the rendered final document, so this could be a PDF or any other print stream that we can read, and the AI assistant analyzes the document, and it basically creates a draft of the template for you, and you can then continue prompting in order to mitigate some imperfections and so on and so forth, right? And it's in the data structure and everything. So this is like, I would say, the phase 2 of AI and CCM, right?
Thorsten, what you've described to me, and the way I describe it in really simplistic terms, is AI is an overlay to legacy CCM, right? And a lot of the functionality that you describe is an enhanced feature set that is already existed in the customer communication composition platforms and systems for many years. And now we've just added this additional feature layer on top of those. And in many cases, I would say that those capabilities, whether it's Compart or any other vendor, are going to be expected. Those are going to become sort of standard features that will allow people to enhance their composition, do template translation, and automate some of their output. But for the most part, it's not really changing the underlying capability of the platform. It's just bringing in AI to enhance, enrich what's already there. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say another distinction you could make is between design time and production time. And I think many of the use cases that we just talked about that are becoming a bit more commonplace, focusing on design time, right? So the goal here is to provide assistive functionality that helps template designers, that helps business users in creating good content, creating good templates, using the right language, and so on and so forth. So it's not necessarily new functionality. It's just that we make life easier for those that are using our products, right? So it makes you more productive. It saves time. It saves cost. And I think the most interesting aspect there is that when it comes to migration projects, right, it starts to make migration projects viable again. Because when you think about it, even at design time, you have a huge potential to reduce the effort, the time consumed, and actually also the cost in a sense of manual labor to migrate thousands or tens of thousands of templates manually, right? And we have seen this in practice that we can cut the migration time for, let's say, average complexity templates from, let's say, days to literally minutes.